100%. I said this a few times on the podcast, but it just is like something that I embody. I genuinely embody in my day to day today. Is if you're applying for jobs, you're going for something, and it doesn't work out. I never take it personally because I know that
Lucky you.
universe, whatever, it's not meant for me. It's just leaving space for something that is, and it really allows me to not take it personally.
Nice. See, I do take things personally. So I'm like, why the heck didn't they want me? I was really good. And in my work, it's basically auditioning all the time because I look at my
Yeah.
videos. My agents are pimping me out and doing all that stuff.
Hmm.
Pimping me out meaning as a speaker, nothing else
Yes.
for those listening.
That's
Um,
a
and
different graphic content.
yeah. That's the other podcast. No, I
Yeah.
don't. I don't have that podcast. Just so y'all know.
Graphic content after dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and the what the fuck moments along the way. I'm your host, Gio, and what's on brand for me this week is trusting the process of life while continuously questioning its timeline. Today's guest is Gregg Brown, a globally recognized leadership and change expert, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and facilitator who helps teams become future ready through storytelling, research, and deep human insight. Named one of the top 50 global thought leaders in change management, his work has been featured in Forbes, Newsweek, Rolling Stone, and Entrepreneur. Somewhere between mentoring world changing organizations, pursuing a PhD on AI's impact in leadership, and tending lavender in his garden, Greg keeps asking a powerful question: what is life showing me about the path I'm meant to follow? Greg, welcome to Graphic Content.
Thank you so much, Gio.
How have things been going? How's your 2026 starting?
It was the busiest January, February I think I've had in maybe 20 years of doing this work. So I was like, woohoo. Yeah, so it's been good. I'm excited. I have a good year ahead and lots of
Hmm.
things underway I know we're going to talk about. So yeah, it's great.
I
Not to
honestly,
diminish all the other crap that's going on in the planet either, because that's overshadowing stuff.
that is moving forward regardless. I think that this is a phase in humanity that we're meant to go through. And when people are like, oh, I don't, this, we need to be like shedding light, like the light is being shed on it regardless. I really
Correct.
do think that these kinds of conversations where we do need to focus on joy and positivity
Correct.
and connection and alignment, because otherwise, and I don't want to sound like some woohoo
You
whatever,
don't.
but
You
but
don't.
it's the truth. Like if we only focus on that, what we're missing the point, right? There has to be balance, and so it's good to hear that people are holding on to that, and especially you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to give a bit of a backstory on us because I always like to
Yeah.
talk about like how I know my guests, and so why don't you go ahead and like talk a little bit about when we met? Not to be like talk about me, but
Sure. I remember. So I was volunteering with the National LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, mentoring entrepreneurs. And you and I were at an event that CGLCC was putting on at the time. And
Mhm.
we just met and connected and we're talking about business stuff. And then we went to watch RuPaul's Drag Race season finale at
Yes.
a bar that night. So that was really fun. And just, yeah, we just chit chatted, got to know each other. And I loved your work and what you did. And we've stayed in touch ever since then.
Oh, it's been so nice. Honestly, I love that. So now I think they've rebranded. It's the CQCC.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that organization has brought so many amazing people into my life just through just being at the events, like not necessarily, shucking and jiving and doing the whole thing, but just
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
present and meeting people. And then you and I, that night was so much fun. Like I think it was the season 11 finale because I remember Brooklyn Heights was on TV and we were like, oh my God, Toronto.
That's so funny.
It was so fun.
I loved
And
it. All these years later.
I know it's true. And so I want to go back a little bit. You've done so much in your career. You've had a very impactful path for so many people in this world. These initial moments in your life that got
Yeah.
you into like thought leadership. And so, what was that early foundation building for you?
Well, I think I'd always had a drive to work with people and make the world a better place. Because when I was 10, I, sat down with my friends at a chalkboard and tried to teach them math, which was not my strongest subject. But I really loved working with people, and I, did it camp counselor all through high school and worked with kids in summer camp and wanted to be a teacher. But, after working as a camp counselor for many years, I realized I didn't want to have kids' behavioral issues. Even though I was still a kid myself, I didn't want to have
Hmm.
kids' behavioral issues for 9 months. So, I shifted around being a waiter for a while after high school, and did a bit of university and blah blah, and ended up at Starbucks as a store manager, which shifted my life again.
What was that transition like as far as what you had learned to what you are now currently doing?
I think I knew how to work with people because I'd been a waiter, and like when you work with kids and a camp counselor, you learn how to read people. And then, I became a busboy and a dishwasher, a busboy and a waiter. And then as a restaurant manager at a very young age, I think 19 or 20, and I was terrible, by the way. I wasn't a good leader then because for anybody that's my age, they may remember the TV show Dynasty. And I thought the best managers were people like Joan Collins, Alexis Carrington, bossing
Hmm.
people around. I was literally terrible. And so, I let that go, or no, I left that. And, I just became a waiter again and did my thing. And I read an ad, like it was old newspaper days, 1989. Starbucks was looking for people to help open the first wave of stores in Canada and Vancouver. And Barbara Reed, who was the head of, who'd come up from Seattle to open the stores, hired me. And she saw something in me, I guess, that ability to work with people. And that's what Starbucks was all about back then. So I think that's why she hired me.
Like when
Yeah.
you're talking about, okay, I'm now in this new role, I'm just like a kid. Because how old were you at the time? Like you would have been.
I was like 23 or 24.
And so at that point, what are you finding is like shaping who you are at this point where you're like, okay, this is where I've been, this is where I am. Even though
Yeah.
at that age, like, do you really have a consciousness around
Yes.
where you're
So
headed?
I fuddle-duddled around for years. I didn't know. I wasn't that person who, when I was 17, going, "I'm going to be a doctor. I don't
Hmm.
know." I was like, "I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what my life is doing. I'm going to be a waiter. I love waitering." Like I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do, and I fuddled around for years. All of a sudden, I became a part of something I felt that was bigger than myself.
Hmm.
There were no coffee shops. There was no coffee culture. I loved Barb Reed, who was, I think she was the head of customer service of Starbucks Seattle. Like there were no stores in Canada, and I think one outside of Seattle. And I loved her. I loved Joanne and Patty, who were the two people that worked with her. And they hired me to be part of the team to do that first sort of 20 stores in Canada. And I felt a part of something big. I felt a part of something important. I didn't know, no, we didn't know what we were doing. Were
Yeah.
we a store? Were we a restaurant? We didn't know. We just did it. And we had fun doing it. And I just felt a part of something big. And I think as a gay kid, I wanted to be on the inside and a part of something. So I always felt on the outside.
There's something to be said about going after, or just doing it. Cause like there's so much in my own life, like I can only speak to my experience where I'm I'm just doing the thing. I'm going with what feels good, but I'm like, I don't know where this is headed.
But that's it. You've hit the point. The whole point is this of what I think we need to pay attention to as people. Life is giving us evidence all the time of what works and what doesn't. When we follow what feels right,
Hmm.
what feels good, and sometimes it means breaking through some fear.
Yeah.
There's two types of fear. There's the fear of like I shouldn't jump off this cliff without a parachute, which I used to do extreme sports like that, so I'd always have a parachute. So there's a fear of like, and that fear is good, because it protects you. But there's also the fear that is silly fear, that fear that's like, I just need to break through this and see what happens. And I think when we pay attention to those signals around what feels right, what you're saying, and we go down that path, that's when the magic happens in our life. And you have to be open to the twists and turns.
Hmm. At this stage in my life, I am more aware of, oh, this is like the, that synchronicity or that moment
Yeah.
of I'm paying attention and I'm seeing it more versus fighting myself and having that. internal struggle of this is what I should do, or I should be doing this, or I
Right.
shouldn't be doing this. I'm 9 years into being a solo entrepreneur, and it's
Congrats, congrats.
thank you, but I'm finally starting to really listen to myself in a way that feels authentic. You know,
Mhm.
even when you and I met, I almost quit my job. Like I was looking to be a teacher,
Yeah,
which I don't even know what I was thinking. It was once again, it was a fear. It
yeah,
was fear. I was like, things aren't clicking enough. And something that you put in your intake form, which I want to get to in a minute, is
yeah.
this idea around resistance. And when you're constantly up against a wall, when you're trying to make something happen, and when to finally listen. And I was like, why am I operating in ways that don't make sense for me?
As I've aged, I'm learning it. I'm still learning this.
Hmm.
I'm still learning. Is that, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to pay attention a lot of the time to where I think I need to go. And, there's evidence around us. I tell people all the time, all you have to do is look around your life and you can see what's working and what's not because there's evidence everywhere, and it's not woo woo stuff. I mean, it's all based upon our brain and how it perceives things and brings in information. It's all brain science. And we're finally realizing that our physiology drives a lot of the stuff we think is woo woo, or all the historical stuff that Buddhists knew years ago about meditation. We can prove that now,
Hmm.
with the science, which is
Yeah.
fascinating to me. And so when people think it's woo woo, I'm like, let's just ground us in some research and brain science.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's important about what you're saying. And I think for me, and when I, mentor entrepreneurs, is very much saying to them, there is the truth that, just because you make really nice products doesn't mean anybody's going to buy them. And you still need to pay your rent. So don't quit your job until you can pay your
Yeah.
rent. Like there's some reality here. I also think there is a point that you have to be open to different things that come up and go down the path. And yet, the challenge I find is when we get really attached to the way things have to be,
Hmm.
that's when we start banging against the wall. And yeah, it just doesn't work. And when we get caught up in the banging, it's sometimes we forget that we got to stop the banging and go a different road.
Was there anything in your life where you're like, okay, I'm wasting my energy and my
Oh my gosh.
time?
So yeah, I have a really good example about banging my head against the wall. And this is after someone who, I'm always talking about life gives us evidence in a much more, if I'm doing a keynote, it's more tangible than that. So a couple of years ago, I thought, what do I want to do? I don't have any goals. I thought, I'm going to go back and do a PhD just because I want to learn something new and keep my brain going. And, I turned 60 this coming year. And I thought, yeah, I just want to be in the process of another goal.
Yeah.
And I want to learn something. So I applied to a university in the US a couple of years ago, and it was literally every five, I was banging the head against the wall. We need this, we need this, we need the transcript translated from the UK because I did my master's in the UK. We
Hmm.
need this, we need, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who are these people? Like, this is just a nightmare. So six
Yeah.
months later, after jumping through series of hoops, frustrating, swearing, cursing. Like, do you think life has given me evidence that I'm not paying
Yeah.
attention to? Yes. I got accepted. I'm about to start my course last May. Was it last May? Yeah, a year ago. 2 days before, no, maybe a few days before, they start booting people out of the course who don't meet requirements
Mm.
of criteria to be a student anymore at this place in the US, which will be nameless.
Hmm.
Ethically, I just didn't feel I could be a part of that. So I messaged them. They were excellent. They said, we totally get it. We completely understand. It's not our fault. Our funding's being pulled if we don't. I'm like, I get it. They refunded my tuition. And I just, after 8 months, was like, bloody hell. I'm set to start. I have nothing. So I messaged my prof at the University of Leicester, who I had 23 years ago, who helped me get my transcript. And I said, John, I said, I'm really interested in a PhD, and I just had to withdraw from this one because of X, Y, and Z. And he said to me, Greg, can you get your application in 2 days? what about what about a PhD in sociology here? I could be your prof because you're interested in AI and how it impacts all of us on a social level. I'm like, I'll do it.
Mhm.
I banged it in, got it in. I think within a week or two, he's like, Greg, I'm going to get you. And I had to jump through a few hoops. The difference is this. So this is the big difference that I talk about that I need to still pay attention to. And this was my life lesson. And I got accepted, and I'm in the middle of it right now, actually, of
Yeah.
my paper, my first paper. So, and it all happened like this: click, 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 click. Now, what it doesn't mean is this, and this is the key part for people listening. It doesn't mean I was sitting in my office meditating that I would get a PhD
Mhm.
and praying, please give me a PhD. No, it was still a lot of work. But the difference is this: it happened like this: click, 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 click. It was effort. It was a lot of effort to get this all redone and get in, but it was not struggle.
Mhm.
And there's a big difference between effort and struggle. So, yeah, that was my big bash, bash, bash. So if you feel that struggle, it's probably not meant to happen. Knock on the door, push through. But if you're getting too many doors, it's probably not the right it's probably not the right place to go.
So, asking for a friend,
Yeah.
when you're going through all this, because like I said, 9 years I've been doing this, and
Yeah.
I am just starting to feel that click click
Yeah.
of, even though I've done, it's been, everything has built me to this point. But I'm genuinely curious, and to anyone listening, what is the difference between working hard to make things happen and then, or versus the click click moments? Because we have to put in the work, you have to build the
You do.
foundation to get to where you are. But at the same time, there does need to be, you say like the metrics of ease, right?
Mhm.
And so in that, how can you really tell this is work that's getting me somewhere versus I'm struggling to get to where I need to be?
Yeah. So to me, it looks like this, and everybody has their own barometer around this. The work I put in to do the degree at Leicester, which was with my prof John, I sat down on my computer every day and I was like banging things together to try to adapt what I did for this other university to suit them. It was a lot of work, but it just flowed. Like there's a flow that happens. I didn't, I wasn't swearing. I wasn't cursing. I wasn't upset. I wasn't angry.
Mm,
I, it was just work. Whereas the working hard of struggle feels counterintuitive. If it's anxiety producing, you're swearing at, why the frick am I doing this? And it's like, why don't these people get the other one I hear from, why don't these people get me? And I'm like, they're not supposed to get you, then go into
yes.
the door.
Yes.
And if you're experiencing those questions, why don't people get me? What's wrong with them? Why don't they have it? La 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 la. And you got to make sure you're doing your due diligence. But if you got this
Mhm.
going on, it's not the right one.
Yeah.
Versus the, wow, these people want to work with me. I've got a lot to do to make it happen. It feels right. I'm going to do it.
100%. I said this a few times on the podcast, but it just is like something that I embody. I genuinely embody in my day to day today. Is if you're applying for jobs, you're going for something, and it doesn't work out, I never take it personally, because I know that
Lucky you.
universe, whatever, is, it's not meant for me. It's just leaving space for something that is, and it really allows me to not take it personally.
Nice. See, I do take things personally. So I'm like, why the heck didn't they want me? I was really good. And in my work, it's basically auditioning all the time because they look at my
Yeah.
videos. My agents are pimping me out and doing all that stuff.
Hmm.
Pimping me out meaning as a speaker, nothing else
Yes.
for those listening.
That's
Um,
a
and
different graphic content.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the other podcast. No, I
Yeah.
don't. I don't have that podcast. Just so y'all know.
Graphic content after dark.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I do sometimes take things personally, and I'm like, I think I'm better than that, or better than they should have hired me for this or that. What I really have to reground myself in is there is that sort of cosmic universe thing of,
Hmm.
who I'm going to work with, who's ever is right. And yet, from a business perspective, and take out the woo woo, I have right above my computer, I only work with people who I want to have dinner with.
Yeah.
That is my guiding value and principle for my business, and has been for 20 years, even when I work for someone else. I don't have dinner with most of my clients, but I could. And I'll tell you, last December, I had a request to do something. for a new client. I don't want to get into the details because you'll figure out who they are. People could figure out what they do. Anyways, a 2-day event that I don't usually do anymore. And I felt I'll do a leadership retreat for 2 days. Everything in my gut said, don't do this, but it was a lot of money. So I thought, man, it's December. I'll do it. I haven't done it for a long time. It'll be really fun. And every time I met with them, I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster.
Mm.
And I tried to make it really good. So anyway, the event happens. And the whole time I messaged a friend of mine. So I used to work in street health, like work with people living on the street in the downtown east side of Vancouver. And I used to work with sex workers a lot, who I
Hmm.
love them because they're usually women generally who back then were working on the street and they're not living a great life, but doing the best they can.
Yeah.
So anyway, I messaged a friend of mine during this 2 days going, I feel like a sex worker because I'm
Mm.
saying to myself all weekend, I'm doing this for the money. I'm
Yeah.
doing this for the money. And as my mother would have said, shut your eyes and think of England. Which is what the sex workers used to say too. So like a shut my eyes and think of England. I felt like that. And I
Hmm.
don't want to feel like that.
Yeah.
So again, once again, I ignored the ugh. I was happy to get the cash, but I will never do that again. And I mean that. I will never compromise that again. 2 times last year, and I've been doing this a long time.
Things are
Totally will.
changing with society, like on, not putting up with things you don't want to. Like, there's definitely that narrative is becoming more and more of a thing. But,
It's hard
even
to
me,
do.
as the child of immigrant parents, they're like, make the money, follow the money. And so, why do you think, as people, we're so good at ignoring what is working versus what isn't working?
I think there's a story that's told that we all need to be self-made. We have to take the money, we have to do this. And yes, I believe in paying your bills. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm like, don't quit your job, pay your
Hmm.
bills, do your business on the side. Like there's stuff you have to do. You can't just go, oh, I'm going to start my business of making baskets and be a millionaire. It doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
If it did, we'd all be rich and thin and healthy and all those things that people say we should be. I'm
Yeah,
not saying we should be that, but life, the universe, not universe, society says. So, for example,
absolutely.
the self-made thing is a big round of horse. No one is self-made. And this is even what the research. I'm doing a PhD in sociology and have been studying for a long time. You know, and this. We all know this intuitively, but like, here's the stuff: there's no such thing as your individual ability making you successful.
No.
There's many better singers than Madonna, no offense to Madonna, and nobody give me any hate, but who didn't have the opportunity. And this is what it looks like. To be successful, whatever successful means for the individual, it takes some sort of social, cultural aspect to support you, help you. It could be your parents, friends, family, whatever. You have to have that. You have to have what I like to call fateful moments. Those
Yes.
moments in time, like Starbucks, Gay Niven, and those people at Starbucks seeing me, seeing that potential. And it also takes, that little individual hit of relationships that you have, your social structure, your self-made ability, your relationships. And we all have individual ability. All of us do. It doesn't mean you're smart or not smart. We all have individual ability, but you need that social structure, the fateful moments and relationships to really. So when people say, I'm a self-made millionaire, I'm like, that's horseshit. You had help along the way. Someone helped you. Someone saw something in you. And you might have come from nothing. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but there had to have been supports along the way. So
Yeah.
when people say that, it makes other people feel bad and wrong, and it's not that.
So what I'm hearing basically is, the only way we get anywhere is with community.
That is the truth, and it is about relationships, and it is about who we have, and it's also not being constrained by that.
Hmm.
I know people who've gotten great jobs through LinkedIn. Like people have searched them through LinkedIn and had headhunters come after them. Whereas, the research says most people get their jobs through the relationships. Yet I know key people that have had that happen, but their relationships supported them because of their past jobs who gave them good references.
Hmm.
Because that's just the fateful moment happens. And John, my prof at Leicester, was one of my recent fateful moments. And I said that to him, you're my fateful moment, because he, was able to say, Gregg's proven. We've had him in our master's program. We know he can write. We know he can do this.
Yeah.
And he went to bat for me. We all need people like that. And we want to be that for other people where we see potential.
I know that like hard work has gotten me to where I'm at today, but at the same time, there have been so many moments where I meet certain people, certain chance encounters, certain referrals,
Totally.
whatever, have helped me to be where I'm at. But but also we have to be the ones
You
driving
can't,
the ship.
I tell people all the time, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Like, I was just doing a keynote yesterday and someone posted their comment on LinkedIn today, which reminded me of this, was, I say a lot. It's not just about having insights, it's
Mhm.
wisdom plus action that makes those miracles happen in your life. There's all that, new positive thinking, all that stuff, which a lot of it's crap because of people do it at the wrong time. Which like, do your affirmations, stay at home, write out your stuff. There's a lot of truth about getting your mindset engaged, because your mindset,
Yes.
you have to have your brain engaged to pay it. So, and this isn't universe woo woo stuff. If you tell your brain to pay attention to things, it will actually bring things into your awareness that you can take action on.
1000%.
And you have to take action on it. The example I say often is, if I asked everyone to draw the face of their mobile phone with all their apps, could they do it? No. Can they draw 24, 30 apps on their phone where they are? No. And you look at your phone 1,000 times a day. And of
Mhm.
course, why can't you? Because it's not important to you. The importance is finding the app and using it. But the power you have over your brain, or I have even over us or myself, is to say, hey, for the next hour, look at your mobile phone. Every time you do, notice where the apps are on your home screen. You could probably place most of them pretty well,
Yeah.
because it's telling your brain what to pay attention to. And as business owners, as leaders, as whatever we are in the world, teachers, it doesn't matter what you are in the world, waiters, servers, we want to tell our brain what to pay attention to,
Mhm.
because that will ramp up your ability to pay attention, to be productive, because there's so much going on. We don't have time to slow down. I mean, we want to slow
Yeah.
down and rest, but that's not what I'm talking about. But in terms of work, we want to get solutions faster. We want to problem solve faster. So our brain's not designed to do that. So we want to help it by helping it, telling it where to focus.
Mhm. How do you balance that ambition with the surrender piece? Because that's something I think that I'm finally
What do you
coming to
mean by
terms with.
surrender?
Like,
Let
when
it
you talk
go?
about like these moments that happen where you're like, I'm putting myself, I'm gonna work hard. I know
Yep.
that I have a vision. I don't know how I'm getting there. But then
Yep.
the surrender of I can't always control everything at the same time.
Well, I am a control freak, so it has been my life lesson to learn to let that go.
Hmm.
But there's some things I am controlling over. I'm not going to apologize. The event I did last day, I walked in, everything was set up weird. I'm like, nope, it needs to be set up like this. And I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for the audience, right? So
Yeah.
it's
I
always
mean,
about what's the end goal. So I am a control freak about that. And I think that's good to be. I'm a control freak about my business, how people engage with that, the quality of the work we put out, so I'm okay with that sort of control stuff. But when it comes to, like, say, sales, marketing, customer relationships, how we engage and grow our businesses, I really had to learn that people will be attracted to who you are and what you do if you put your authentic, I hate using that word all the time, but if you put your real stuff
it's
out
very
there.
true.
It still has to be out there in a business way, don't get me wrong. And it still has to be palatable for people, because if people aren't buying your stuff, there's a sign that something's not working.
Hmm.
It's not because you're a loser or because you're bad. Something's not working and connecting in a tangible way with whoever should be buying your stuff. So you need
Yeah.
to fix that. Or maybe your stuff's not what people want. Like, there's layers to this.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think there is a piece about, and it's taken me a long time to do this, it just magically happen, to put my stuff out and start to see people going to that. And I was scared to do that in my world. So as a keynote speaker, I was told years ago, Don't put workshops on your website because it'll bring you down, because speaking's better than workshops, which is a load of horse shit. But
Hmm.
I was told that and embedded. Just like, we all have this cultural hierarchy stuff that people tell us
Yeah.
about our business or work. That was mine. That was told to me. It's not a true story, and just because I believed it did not mean that it was true, because it's not
Yeah.
true. So finally, a few years ago, I'm like, screw this. I'm putting workshops back on my website. I love to do them. It's a revenue stream, and I love doing them. So why don't I have them out there?
Hmm.
Put them back on. Then I'm like, I worked with a marketing company in New York, and to make things all sexy. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to write it the way I want to write it, because that's who I am. So I redid all this. And again, it's taken me years. I've been doing this a long time, right? So I'm
Yeah.
talking, I've had my own business now back. I've been business for 10 years. I worked for someone else for 10 years, off and on as an entrepreneur. So finally, in the last 2 years, I'm like, screw this, I'm doing it all my way.
Hmm.
Well, as soon as I did that, didn't it just ramp right up?
Yeah.
And and that's not because universe woo woo stuff. I also started to do more digital marketing. I have a great digital marketing team
Hmm.
that we do Google ads. We do a newsletter every 2 weeks that goes out. So there's a lot of works that's here going into this.
Yeah.
And then what's really cool, one of the cool outcomes of this is, because of all this work, which is what you're speaking to,
Hmm.
ChatGPT is my number one referral, other than my existing clients and my agents. It's true. I'm like, where'd you have like ChatGPT? I'm like, okay. And I don't have the algorithm for that, so don't ask me. I don't know what
Hmm.
it is, but I think I think, and my team thinks, it's because we have a breadth of work out there. And I put stuff out there, and
Yeah.
as a result of just sort of doing that, people start to come to me, and they have a good client base. So there's work I put into this. It isn't magic.
I find that the game changer for me in the last, honestly, in the last year has been, what's your differentiator, right? Because there's billions of people on this planet. We're all trying to do something
Totally.
here, and when it comes to like entrepreneurs or creatives in their own path, and this AI thing came in, and I was like, oh my god, like, because like I have lost clients because of AI. Like I'm
Really?
it absolutely.
Uh,
They like, oh, we can just do this on our own or whatever,
oh,
and they're
good
not
luck.
telling me this, but I see when I
Yeah.
don't hear from them for periods of time, oh, I can see they're generating AI, which is fine, whatever. It's not for me anymore. They can go on their own path. It's fine. I've realized that the thing that has allowed me to really connect to the work that I'm doing and be confident that even in this world where tech is advancing so fast, that me as a
Right.
human being, I still have stakes in my work, is because the thing that is allowing me to, or when you like get the feedback from others, is this human connection piece, this like more this empathetic approach to branding specifically, and how the feedback I'm getting from my clients, and 9 times out of 10 it's Geo understands, he listens, he can really
Totally.
synthesize my essence into a brand. And that is the thing that I'm like, oh, I'm running with that, because it really is, it's been the foundation of Geographic for years.
Years. What the research shows, like World Economic Forum released their Future of Jobs report, and
Hmm.
number top skills required by people, leaders, employees, business owners by 2030. AI big data is one. Just one. Let me tell you the other top 10. I'm
Hmm.
not going to do all 10, but creative thinking, critical thinking, analysis, resilience, agility, social influence. So the premise being, as our work becomes more automated, it frees up our time to bring more of the people stuff to the stage, like
100%.
to our work. And tools will never replace wisdom. I can
No.
see a chat GBT written article because there's no depth.
No.
And it will get better, but you have to put in your own point of view.
Yes.
And you can't listen to what other people say are people's differentiators in your business. Like, and I love that you said what you did about yours is human connection, because no one's going to go around saying graphic designers need human connection. Like, I love that that's your unique one. Like
Hmm.
in my world, everybody says stuff like, well, it's about the story you tell and about, the information and the research. And yeah, that is a part of it.
Hmm.
Figuring out what your unique ability is
Yeah.
My unique ability is to be able to engage. If I engage, I'm fine in 200, 1,000, 20 people, I don't care. Going out into the audience and having conversations. I'm good at
Mhm.
it. It's natural to me. I was a waiter. Anybody that's been a server, we're good at reading people. Yes,
Yes.
we are good at it. It will set you up for success if you have been a server. I tell every server that who asks me, how did you get out of the
100%.
restaurant business? You can read people a mile away, and I can do that in a room. In my branding and stuff, I talk about doing interactive keynotes that stick.
Mhm.
Now, what's really interesting, years ago, people were like, well, keynotes aren't interactive. I'm like, mine are. So screw off. If you don't
Yeah.
want it, you don't want it. But my whole industry is all about not do like get up on stage and talking about climbing Mount Everest. And well, I haven't done any of that. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to do me. But it's
Mhm.
taken me years to overcome the you should have Coca-Cola as a brand and you should have this as a brand. And not that I would say no, and I would say no if I didn't want to work with who the people were. But I've worked with big brands, little brands, a lot of nonprofits, big organizations like Habitat for Humanity or the UN or NATO or whoever, CDC, just to name drop, because I'm very proud of those, working with those. Everybody I work with wants to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
End of story. And that is my driver. If you work at Coca-Cola and your area wants to make the world a better place, I will work with you.
Mhm.
If you are the CDC, I worked with them a lot because they're an international organization working to make the world a better place.
I'm realizing that, my focus so much over the last, I want to say, yeah, the last few years has been money. That has been my, like,
I
I need
love
to make
money.
money. I want to be able to like feel secure, which
Hmm.
I got read to filth recently. I had my birth chart done, and that was literally the guy who was like, "Your theme in life, in this life, is security around security." And I'm like, he like ripped the rug under me. Anyway, that's if you can check that out, it's on YouTube. GeoGets. So anyway, so we go through this, and it's like, okay, how do I actually shift my driver, the gas in the tank towards something that is not just making money and is okay,
Hmm.
what change am I affecting? And I've said this before where in my work I'm really helping, especially like smaller businesses, medium-sized enterprises, where I'm helping them to create this foundation of who they are in a brand to feel confident to sell themselves to the world. That's, to sum it up in so
Yeah,
many ways, and shifting it and being like, okay, how do I make the world a better place in my way is through that, helping people like, step into their greatness is another thing that my
totally.
coach has helped me to suss out of like what I do. And through the podcast, where it's I'm having all these amazing people talk about themselves, talk about how they got to where they are to potentially inspire others.
For
I'm a
sure.
small fish in a huge pond. The world is massive. The internet is, there's so much noise, and I see everybody trying all these things to get attention. And, I've had people be like, why don't you talk more about like hot topics or like politics or your TV? And I'm like, that
Mm.
doesn't resonate with me. I'm
Then
not doing
don't
that.
do it. Yeah.
And if it takes me longer to get somewhere, whatever that means for me,
Yeah.
then so be it. I'm not about to sell myself to talk about things that don't make sense or to say things
Yeah.
that are controversial
Yeah.
just for the sake of it. I
I
don't want to
agree.
do that.
See, so I think you said something really important that I want to just touch on, which is the safety security thing. And this is research based as well as my experience and many people I talk to. Money is good, first off.
Hmm.
I love money. Money is I don't see anything wrong with having money. I think the more money you have, the more good you can do on the planet. If that's
Yeah.
what your purpose is in life, we all have different purposes.
Hmm.
I love money myself and I need safety and security. And that comes from, for me anyway, and from a lot of LGBTQ people, the fact that as kids, and this isn't true for everyone, but for me it was, and many, many others, we did not fit in and we were made fun of and called gay, blah, 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 whatever other names you want to name it.
Hmm.
What money does is it creates safety and security for us so that will not be put in those situations again. I think it's true for many LGBTQ people that there is a driver there about, for some of us, it might be money. For some of us, it might be being in a community. That's why, I was a server for many years because it was very safe. I went into nursing education, not as a nurse, but someone who had an education background because it was safe. and I loved
Yeah.
working in a female-dominated profession at the time. So I think there's nothing wrong with having that, and I know for myself that that driver has been very much to be protected. And I think that's
Yes.
okay. You know, the little kid in me is like, yay. And I also came from a family that had very, very, very little money. Like, you know, we lived in subsidized housing for a while. So I wanted that safety and security and never wanted to be in the situation my parents were put in where they did not have choice.
Hmm.
So for me, money gives me choice. The balance to that is, and I do work a lot with nonprofits and government. When I work for profit, I'm able to charge more. It allows me to do, you know, the lesser big ticket money items, to do work with organizations that maybe can't afford my usual rate. Because I believe that every organization deserves to have access to good talent development content. By that, I mean content that will help develop their teams, help give them additional skills, help them be even more effective in the workplace than they already are. And I
Hmm.
believe every organization deserves that, whether they're a women's shelter or whether they're Coca Cola,
Yeah.
you know. And my bent, my lean has always been, because after Starbucks, I worked in not for profit and volunteered, and I still volunteer to work with organizations and people that their driver's not primarily money. Because my driver, if I really was driven by money, I'd be working in a bank and making
Yeah.
bazillions of dollars. Not that everybody in a bank makes millions of dollars, but my driver's been to make the world a better place, and if I can make some cash along the way, bonus item on that. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful to do the work I do because I've been able to do that and able to use my voice to create positive change.
It's funny you're saying this, the timing of that statement around making more money and working with for profit in order to help others. I literally, yeah, yesterday I was listening to a podcast where this woman was being interviewed about her life path and her career. And she was talking about how when she was younger, she has a doctorate. She like goes to Malawi, she builds wells and all that. She
Oh,
does like a ton
cool.
of stuff in Africa. And she was saying how when she was younger, I think she's Christian or something like that. And she was saying how when she was younger, she was offered to do like spreads, like modeling, like where she was
Oh,
kind of like naked. And she's like, people judged me so much for that because I did this, but it allowed me to take that money to pay for my doctorate in order to now help others. And so I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at without that. So sometimes we do things for money that, are in order for the greater good, even though it looks like we're being, you know, whatever, like it. And the way she said that, I go, you know what? I can vibe with that. Sometimes we
well,
have
this is the thing. We're told so bad that money's bad and money's the root of all evil and all this crap.
yes,
And, you know, it took me a long time to realize that if I had, and this is true, like, let's just bring this down to business entrepreneurial level.
yeah,
If you can't pay your rent, you cannot start a business. Your safety and security, and this is basic psychology and basic living, and I know this from working with people living on the street, you know, who have nothing. You got to pay your rent before you do anything else. You have to have some food, you know, so money gives you that. You got to have that taken care of before you do all this other stuff.
hmm,
And if you're fortunate and have the fateful moments and have some social structure behind you, that you can, you know, start to take some action on things, then you can, you know, put your foot in front of the other and start to do that. Because I do know people that money is a driving force for me to be safe, to have my bills paid, to not, you know, end
yeah,
up in subsidized housing like my parents did, because I saw how hard that was for them.
hmm,
And I just wanted to make the world a better place. And once I wrapped my head around that, if I have a bit of money, I can actually help people. I can do
yeah,
things. I can contribute. I can donate. I can be philanthropic. I can leave a legacy. I'm not a philanthropist, by the way. I'm not bad.
yeah,
But yeah, Gregg Brown, philanthropist, author. That's my next lifetime. I'll be on like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or something. Um,
I would watch that.
I want to be Jennifer Tilly on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, just to be really clear. I
I
love her,
love it. Yes, she's
and
amazing.
it is my guilty pleasure. But yeah, money's good. Money's good.
Hmm.
It helps people. You can do a lot. I was lucky. I had no money when I, you know, started volunteering. I was lucky to pay my rent. And I got to work with amazing people living on the street that
Hmm.
have framed my life and my context and who I am today. Just yesterday, I was talking about amazing sex workers with business people. It just came up in a story about how much I'd learned from working with them. So,
Hmm. I gotta say, I see you at in your life, and you're still going out there. You're still working, you're still doing the
yeah,
thing. And that is so inspiring to me because I
thank you.
don't ever see myself like truly slowing down. I think that I'm
No.
always somebody I want to keep
Why would
doing the
you?
thing.
Why would
Exact
you?
right? And so at this stage in your life, like you're consciously choosing
Yes.
expansion
Yes.
instead of winding down. Most people are like looking at retirement, they're looking at slowing
No.
it down. Like,
No.
why are you driving this
So
bus?
So there's a few things. And so let me just say this. I'm in a fortunate position, just to be real clear. I've worked hard. I have my own business. I completely understand people that are working for the organization they've been doing great work they love, but they want freedom. I get that. The great thing about being an entrepreneur is you have freedom of money. I mean, you can work as much or as little as you want, your choice. You have freedom of time, meaning you can choose how much time to put in or not. A lot of us put in more, some people put in less. You have freedom of relationship, meaning you can work with who you want. I don't have to go to meetings. Like I'm if you want to retire because you go to 8 hours of meetings a day, you go for it. And then the fourth thing is freedom of work, meaning you can do the type of work you want to do. And I have that. And that's retirement too, right? Freedom of work, freedom of money, freedom of relationship, and freedom of time.
Hmm.
So if I have that now, why would I stop? So that's sort of first. But if you're in a job and you want to quit, and you're ready to retire, you go for it. But this is the key thing, and this is what the research shows. I'm all about what's going on the planet and looking at how to age well. I was watching a neurosurgeon or was he a neurosurgeon? Yeah, he was a neurosurgeon. No, was he a neurosurgeon? Maybe he was neuropsychologist, something, saying the number one enemy of your brain is retirement. Now that means retirement and going and doing nothing.
Yes.
So if I look at people that have aged well, and as a gay man, this is who have been my models over the years. I look at Jane Fonda. I look at Alexis
Iconic.
Carrington Colby, Dexter, Joan
Hmm.
Collins, who's 93 and still acting. I
Hmm.
look at singers. I went to see Stevie Nicks, who's 78, a couple of months ago. Second time I saw her over the last 2 years, 78 on stage, just bringing it. Her voice sounds better than it's ever done. They're living well and they're not working for the money. None of them need cash. Well,
No.
Joan Collins says she needs it to maintain her lifestyle. So that's like, I need it to maintain my lifestyle. I believe her. She had the residuals of Dynasty. She said she wouldn't need to work. But I
Hmm.
bet you she still would because she loves what she does.
Of course.
So my plan's to live to 98, which is how long my grandmother did. That's another 38 years. I
Hmm.
want my brain to work. I want my body. Dick Van Dyke, who's 98 or 99, says the only reason I work out is to stay out of long-term care. He works out at the gym every day.
Yeah.
So I work out a lot still, and not to maintain the muscles I did 30 years ago, but to stay mobile, limber, all that stuff.
Hmm.
So if you look at aging well, looking at what the research says,
Yeah.
you got to keep your brain active.
Yeah.
And keep your brain active is not reading and knitting and hobbies. Like that's the key thing. And that might be if it's about striving, if it's about reading to complete something. So I read as relaxation to calm my brain. But if I'm reading for school or work, it's different brain. And you want
Yes.
that striving instinct to keep going. So
Hmm.
so it's conscious what I'm doing. It's also entrepreneurial. If people want to pay me, why would I stop
Hmm.
doing what I love?
I don't think I can ever stop. I think that the idea
No,
of not doing something to move forward in life is stressful. Like that is more stressful to me
yeah,
than I don't know, like one thing that I'm trying to work through is like balance in my life. And I
totally.
find that I put so much importance on my identity as, geographic, the business, blah blah blah. And striking that balance of okay, this doesn't define me. It's a
No,
vessel to, have a life basically,
Yeah,
that is on my own terms, but also I just like the idea of retirement. I mean, my generation, I don't think any of us will be able to retire. but but at the same time, I think I always want to be reinventing. I always want to be doing something new. I always want to
totally.
be engaging in my life beyond just like that's why I left. I didn't last long in a 9 to 5. I think I
No,
did it for 4 years post secondary and was like, I can't
yeah.
do this.
But that's what you're speaking to is this. Everyone on the planet, and I believe it with everyone, and some
Hmm.
again have the opportunities, some don't. You know,
Yes.
they might be great, they just might not get the opportunities, even though they're trying. So we're all, we're all doing the best that we can with the knowledge and information that we have. It's about allowing whatever creative expression it has in you to come out. So, for example, one of my mentors, speaking mentors, Gail Larson, she's 80. She's still teaching workshops because she loves it and she's good at it.
Hmm.
One of my other mentors, Kim Barnes, who I've worked with for 20 years, I teach a couple workshops she developed years ago. She's Burns and Conti. She's 87 or 88, still working, still traveling, has a new boyfriend. Well, I don't think he's a new boyfriend anymore. I think she's been with him for 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 years now at 88.
Love
Um,
that.
yeah. So these are my mentors. And um, they're not slowing down. And I don't see anything wrong again. There's no judgment about people. I have many friends who are retired who, have their cottage at the lake, but they're doing things. They're a part of things. They're
Hmm.
contributing to things.
Hmm.
So they're on boards or they're singing in choirs or they're learning piano. Like you have to do something. If you quit your job, and I think you're allowed a year or two just to relax if you've been working 9 to 5 or
You
more.
need a reset.
Yeah, you have to find something or you will go click, click. Like my mom, was 83 when she died 10 years ago, but she was playing Sudoku with people around the world on her computer and ripping her CDs to her. She was a technological nut.
I love it.
And I say that with great compliment. And my uncle, who's 93, is a nuclear engineer. And I don't know if he's nuclear, but he's an engineer that writes about nuclear stuff. And is
Hmm.
another technological person who's, still writing papers at 93. That's their thing. So I think if you want to live a long time, and it's not guaranteed, just so you know, but
Yeah.
there's correlation. If you're lucky not to be hit with any of the big health thingies,
Hmm.
there's correlation between brain health and physical health.
Oh, 100%.
So let's do it, baby. Let's keep our brains going. And, as long as, and it's a luck of the draw too. There's a luck of the draw. And I see people, as I'm 60 this year, as I said, and I see people in their 70s or even people in their 60s getting sick and dying. Like I've seen a lot of death around me lately. It's been
Yes.
interesting. And not to minimize that in any way, but the
Hmm.
lesson, the wake up call always for me has been, and this comes from working, in public health years ago and in HIV years ago. Before I worked in HIV, before there were protease inhibitors, people were dropping like flies. You learn that life is short and
Yeah.
you do not know if you will be hit by a car, hit by a health illness. Health illness, is there any other type of illness? So I guess there's
Hmm.
mental health illness, a health illness. You don't know when. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean being irresponsible, but what it does mean is not worrying about what other people think, which I
Hmm.
find hard, and taking the risks and taking the steps that feel right for you to take, because you just might not have another chance.
With all of that, you're working on your PhD and with the body of work that you've put out into the world. Now that we're moving into this new phase of your life, of your career, like what contribution are you most excited to make that you like wouldn't have been able to do, let's say 10, 15 years ago?
Well, life always comes full circle, right? And it's really funny because my PhD supervisor, John, used to work in public health as a geriatric nurse. I had no idea until last week we were meeting about my paper. So our backgrounds are, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that's sort of interesting, but this is what's really cool. So I've been doing this, I've been going down this path about how AI is reshaping leadership and organization. And my PhD supervisor recommended I read someone named Norbert Elias. And he talks about established insider dynamics versus outsider dynamics. Now, if LGBTQ stuff is not all about insider outsider dynamics, I don't know what is. But he's talking about it in the nature of work and social structures. So I'm going down this path of insider versus outsider dynamics and how it
Hmm.
impacts, how we interact at work with AI. Like I just wrote a paper on, like a public one that I shared through my newsletter and on my website called "How Leaders' Good Intentions Reinforce the AI Divide." And it's
Mm,
all and the established versus outsider, insiders versus outsiders related to age, technology,
yeah.
gender, and it's so that's my new stuff that I'm going down a rabbit hole on, and it's really exciting because it's bringing in. I like going to the opera, and
Yep.
it's not everybody's cup of tea. But what I'm looking at is how we create more insiders, because it's not just about throwing tickets at people. And how we create insiders, of course, is through social learning and education and making people feel part of a community.
Hmm.
And in the opera, there's this huge, which I never knew before I was involved. There's an ensemble studio that's made up of all these young people who are opera singers, and then there's this huge arts group of young people in the arts in opera, and I love being a part of that. And it's made me feel like an insider instead of an outsider. I get to learn more. I get to education. So that's my new thing: insiders, outsiders, and it's all based on research. So I'm having fun with that.
And how are you applying that to just your whole ethos as Greg Brown?
Oh, well, it's been a thread through my whole life, working with marginalized populations and, doing the mentoring I do with entrepreneurs, which is like, and the mentoring I do is all about how do we customer relationship management? How do we create community with our customers? So it's all about how do we make our customers feel like insiders? So I'm
Hmm.
starting to use that language, like not just in work. In my world, one of my good friends, Amy, is an event producer and does a lot of conferences. And she is a star. I was telling her this the other day. She's a star at making people at conferences who might feel excluded feel like insiders. She can create I don't know how she does it. She's a miracle worker at that. She's a star at doing that. And it's just a thread I'm noticing throughout my life and talking about. I'm talking about it at the opera. I'm talking about with anybody that listens to me about we have to make people feel like insiders,
Hmm.
and it's been fun to do that. So because you can be an insider about, like, even in our work, you can be an insider related to, say, technology, but you might be an outsider related to different things. And things like when we gossip about people at work, that creates insiders and outsiders. So I'm really looking at that concept and applying it, and intuitively we know this, but to see the research and the dynamics around that makes it really important for people to listen to it. So that's where
Hmm.
I'm at.
What do you hope that they get out of interacting with you?
I want people to walk. This is going to sound really superficial and deep at the same time and trite, but it's not meant to be that way. I want people to be able to go away and think about where can I stop making people feel like outsiders, make them feel like insiders. Like this is the thing. And if you look at politics, it's a great example of it now. I believe there are more people that think like us than don't think like us. I just believe that. I believe the news, when we look at the news, it shows polarization. Most of us play in the middle. And by play in the middle, I mean socially play in the middle, fiscally play in the middle.
100%.
It's not black and white. There's gradients. I think most of us want to be friends with our neighbors. I think
Hmm.
most of us want to like the people we work with.
Yes.
I think most of us want to understand other people's points of view.
Hmm.
I think most of us want to get along with others.
Hmm.
I think there's a polarization at either end where that we're seeing, but I don't believe that that's the majority. I think that's what gets the voice. And I want us to have conversations more about what brings us together. because I think there's a lot that brings us together.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm not saying, just to say this, I'm not condoning racism, homophobia, anything like that. Screw that and screw them.
of course.
And you're not going to convert people. People have to get over this. I'm going to convert people. Never going to happen.
No,
Your
for
social
sure.
media post isn't going to convert anybody. It might prompt someone to think something different. Like, I'm open to that prompting, but there's research around this, around you're not going to change people's deeply held beliefs
Hmm.
unless they're open. I'm open, so I'm willing to look, but your Nazi slogan is always going to be a Nazi slogan to me. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not going to change that, and bye bye. I'm loving to see people put their foot down, because people said, don't, you can't talk about politics at work, blah blah. Well, I think, you know, I don't talk about politics at work, but I do have a stake in the sand that I will
yeah,
not cross. And you have your stake, and we all do. And if I lose business because of it, screw it. So I'm loving seeing social media influencers saying, "This is my stake. Your Nazi slogan's my Nazi stake. Screw off." I love that, and I think we need to do that more. And I want to see more people here in Canada and down there doing that. And I'm seeing it. I work internationally, so I'm very lucky to see it
hmm,
there. But I do believe more of us are alike than apart, and that's the hope that gets me through this. Our parents had their own struggles of
yeah,
hope at various times. Our grandparents had the Second World War for most of us, or other more recent wars for other people. We'll get through this. It might not be easy. It might be hard. We'll get through it. It's not going to happen forever. We will come out the other side.
yeah. I agree with you. I think one thing that this venture has shown me is, I've already known this, but it really has put it into perspective with the amount of people that I've spoken to. Now, you, I think, are this is like I don't know when this will come out, but this is like, I've over 40, I think I have 50 episodes at this point, and every person that has come to sit down, in this format with me has a different life path, has a different perspective, has lived an individual life that sure matches other people, but is their own life path. And at the end of the day, like through every story I've, unearthed through these conversations, it's like we're all the same. Like we're all the same. We're nearing the end,
Okay.
and I'm really happy that you've taken the time to be part of this. I think that you have such an interesting life path
Well,
that
thank
a
you.
lot of people can pull some inspo from, because I see this. You're like, this led to this, and the Starbucks in the early days, and how it's led to basically, how do we work with each other? How do we
Yeah.
come together and live a copacetic life while still, having goals and working the system
Yeah.
of capitalism, etc. So having said all that, I ask this to every one of my guests. It's my like end question, and because I work in branding, I love to ask this of people. So for you, looking at your life, looking at, the path that you've taken, what would you say is the most on brand thing about Greg Brown?
Two things. One is paying attention to the things that make me excited,
Mm,
that light me up. I mean, I never would have been, wouldn't have been here today if, 30 years ago, 33 years ago, I hadn't read an article in a newspaper that Steve Martindale wrote about, who worked at AIDS Vancouver, about inmates being denied access to healthcare.
mm,
And I read that article, and and I didn't know anybody had been in jail. And I read this, that inmates were being denied access to healthcare in Canada. I'm like, this is Canada. This can't happen. And I phoned Steve up, because there was no email. I said, I need to get involved. He said, do you want to volunteer to go into jail and do some education? I'm like, sure.
hmm,
I would not be here today if I had not done that, because I didn't edit myself or stop. So I say that to everyone listening. If something interests you, like something, don't stop it, just follow it and go and see what happens. That's and we've talked about that as a thread, but that's my biggest thread. I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't done that. And that's a brand thing for me, like paying attention. The second thing is not to tamp down my energy.
mm,
In my world, I bring a lot of energy to my work. Bring a lot of energy to my life, to conversations, which can override people sometimes. So I have to tone it down sometimes. But when I get off stage, people say, "What did I?" They're like, "We love the energy that you brought,"
yeah,
and I wasn't told that it was a bad thing, but I was told, "Yeah, you gotta tell stories about Mount Everest or this or people don't hire me for that."
Yeah.
So people hire me for who I am in my work, right? Those are my two on brand things: energy and paying attention. Does that answer your question? It sounds woo woo, but I don't mean it to sound woo woo. It's like the energy, the physical, mental, emotional energy, the real stuff that you bring.
Listen, I've had every answer across the board of, every person has answered from farting at work to this. Like like across the board. So you saying this is that's your truth, you know? I think that it's a good thing to end on. I think that you are bringing a lot to the table. I really enjoy your energy. I think that's
Thank you.
why I'm happy that you are part of this project for me.
Thank you. Thank you. I've loved being a part of it. And anybody listening, I think the story about you, both of us, is about don't let anybody tamp down that light of yours. That's like there's whatever that is, whether it's energy, whether it's
Mhm.
education, whether it's your ability to do numbers, whatever your big unique ability, I call it your special brand of magic, whatever it is that you bring, just bring it and see what happens.
I love it. And to anybody who's listening, if they are, they are connecting with you in your story or and want to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can go to bechangeready.com. So just the way it sounds, bechangeready.com, bechangeready.com. Or go to my LinkedIn profile. I'm there, or on Insta, Gregg Brown TO. Yeah, go anywhere there. I'm around. Or you know what a lot of people do? Chat GBT seems to be bringing me up. So you can also go there.
I love it. And to anybody listening who wants to connect with me, you can find me at anywhere you stream podcasts on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, etc. If you want to send an email, it's at graphiccontentpod@gmail.com. Greg, once again, I want to thank you so much for being part of the show.
It was
And
fun.
yes, I appreciate it so much. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.